Hi everybody, I hope you're having a good day. I wanted to talk about a couple of things. There was some author, and I can't remember who it was now, forgive me for that, who, it may have been Abby Emmons, I don't know, but she was talking about things you need to know. You need to answer these questions to market your book. And I thought, well, it should be easy. No, it's not. Okay, the first question is kind of like a several part question, or it's a clarification of the question. It says, what does the book promise? What needs does it fill? And what itch does it scratch for readers? I kept thinking, this is hard. Well, I mean, what does it promise? Well, I can tell you the Clancy Mountain series so far, and I published 3 of the 5 books, and I'm well over half into the 4th book, writing it. This series promises to show people dealing with real problems in close proximity without turning on each other. You might recognize that last little part from The Walking Dead. And I have a lot to say about The Walking Dead. Now, this series has nothing to do with this kind of stuff. However, there's a lot of study of humanity and human nature in that series that really speaks to me, more than the actual danger that they're in. But this shows people dealing with problems without turning on each other. And it shows how a community can come together for either a common good or against a common foe, which I guess technically is still for the common good, is it not? People who overcome adversity without allowing themselves to be swept along uncontrollably by the expectations of other people. It shows people who value family and legacy, but don't necessarily care for Pollyanna types, and they probably would roll their eyes at them. But those who want to see the people who like these books will probably want to see good triumph over evil in a modern world setting. And yep, for those who don't know what a Pollyanna is, I think you would if it's fairly common vernacular. Of course, I remember watching the movie Pollyanna when I was a kid, starring Haley Mills. It's somebody who's unexplainably happy about everything, who always sees the good in everything. There's nothing bad. Nothing ever gets this person down. These people are not Pollyannas. And that was the first question. Now the second question is, who is my audience? What kind of person would like these books? The age, the gender, what do they watch and what do they read? That was a hard one for me, because I've only written these. I wrote my little novella length memoir, and that I didn't really talk about that much. I mean, it's still there for purchase for $1, and I don't talk about that much. But it was the way I got my feet wet in the publishing industry, and But you know, it's valuable for what it is. I believe has something of value to say for people who want to start a homestead and they're not in their 20s anymore, that kind of thing. But the Clancy Mountain series all takes place in a little town called Clancy, a town in the North Georgia mountains, in the Northeast Georgia mountains. And who is the audience for this book? It's people who want connection, and they like reading about ride or die friendships and supportive families and communities coming together for a common cause, and they like to hear about the rarest of traits, loyalty. That's a tough one, isn't it, these days? Loyalty. People, when you're on Facebook and it has a friends list and it's like you don't even know these people and you really shouldn't be calling them your friends, yeah, they're not going to be loyal to you because they don't even know you or barely know you. But the audience, people who, let me tell you who would enjoy, especially book 2. Now, book 1 has a lot of this. It leads up to book 2, obviously. Book 1 has some of this, but book 2 the main character is someone who's starting over in this town, who's lost her husband, and she's starting over in this little mountain town. Well, book 2 is about someone who was born in this mountain town and who inherited this farm from her grandmother, and she had spent 20 years away in the publishing industry. I thought she's an editor. She's an editor, and when her grandmother got sick, she moved back to Clancy to take care of her grandmother. So it starts with a different kind of main character, one that's very well familiar, went to school in this town and understands this town, even though she spent time away in the city. for her career. As most kids who are 20 years old, they leave these small towns. This is what she did, and she came back at 40 years old. But the people who enjoyed watching the undying, iconic friendship of Daryl and Carol in The Walking Dead, they will love the relationship between Meg Brewster, the main character, and Isaac Tanner, who grew up in the town. And it's like Brewster's Farm minus it's Brewster's Farm without the zombies. It's like Walking Dead without the zombies. But that friendship, you watch this over the seasons of this show. Now, I didn't watch that show when it first came out. I only watched it in retrospect, all the seasons after it was already canceled. I already watched it after that. But the friendship between Daryl Dixon and Carol, is it Pelletier, I think her name is, was just an amazing friendship. You wish you had a friendship like that. Well, you're kind of going to wish you had a friendship like Isaac Tanner and Meg Brewster. And that's what I see when I see that friendship, that ride or die, you can always count on me. I'm never going to let you down if I can help it, that kind of thing. That kind of friendship. Don't we all want that? Don't we all want that? But my audience is also people who like quiet spaces and beautiful mountain landscapes, and they love to have a more peace in their lives. That is who might be my audience. And when I think about what the age of the reader is, my reader is, I think it would appeal to adults of any age. Today's teenager, I've known some teenagers who are very well educated, homeschooled, and all that kind of stuff. That they're great readers and they might enjoy it. But I think adults of any age really would enjoy it. But mainly, if I'm honest, I think mainly middle age. I don't know. It depends on where you start middle age. But I would say from the 30s. That's not middle age, but from the 30s on up, I think would enjoy it the most. And that's who it would appeal to. And the gender of my reader, probably mostly female, I would think. It's not a fantasy novel. It seems like men are really into fantasy and stuff. Of course, everybody seems to be these days. And I'm not. So that's not what this is. So anyway, that's just my guess. And if you've read any of these, let me know if you agree with me. Is this who my audience is? Who do you think my audience is? Who for this series right here? Now, after this series is over, I'm probably going to do a standalone novel. I don't know. I don't have an idea for that just yet. But I have an idea for book 5, which will be the final book in Clancy Mountain. But that's who I think my reader is. And I think the people who really love that friendship on The Walking Dead, that Daryl-Carol connection, I think they will especially like Brewster's Farm, which is book number 2. Let's see. Now there was a couple other questions, but the other question that she asked was, what are the books that she said I should ask? What are the books have my readers read and loved? And she said, find 2 comparable titles and phrase it as this meets that. I don't think I can do that just yet. I haven't read a lot of that type of series that I'm writing. I haven't read a lot of that type of series. But people have mentioned more than once the Mitford series by Jan Karon. And there's no priest in it. It's not that kind of book. It doesn't have a priest or a pastor or anything. But they've mentioned the Mitford series, which I haven't read. I think that's 15 books in that thing. And it took place over a great amount of time. I think Jan Karon didn't put out this many books in a year as I've been putting out this time. But people love the series. And I was looking up some of these other series, and I'm thinking one other one that sounds similar would be the Water Valley series, which takes place in rural Tennessee. It has some similarities in it. And perhaps the Hart's Ridge series by Kay Bratt. The covers are just beautiful. The covers are kind of like, it gives a vibe of my series, and it's about a small town and a deputy sheriff in a small town. I think it's a female deputy sheriff. That part might be a little bit in one of the books. You'll have a lot of law enforcement involved. But I'm thinking about those. But the 2 specific books would really take some more thought. Now, the other question I can't quite answer yet, because I think it's kind of still evolving, is what is my author brand? At what point I have to be identifiable. And it's like some authors, say Brandon Sanderson, who writes fantasy, you know, all his covers look kind of similar. And a lot of these series, their covers look similar. That's why I've been trying to tweak these covers to make them look kind of similar and to change all the fonts to the same ones on the front cover. But my brand, see, I'm just developing my brand and my style. I think I have my voice, my writing voice, which is, does it sound like me? Does it sound like I've written it? Yeah, I think even the book 4 sounds just like the same person writing in book 1. Yes, I think my writing has improved, of course. I mean, you write that much, you're going to improve it. You can't help it. You've got to improve. But, you know, I don't know if I have an author brand yet. If you see an author brand emerging in my books, and just let me know, please, because I really have found such help from my subscribers and people out there, you people. Sometimes you tell me things I just don't even know, and I'm willing to listen. But did you think that you wanted that relationship between Daryl and Carol? Did you want that with another friend? Yeah, if you did, you better get to reading. Talk to y'all later. Bye.